Welcome to the first episode of Agency Freedom. Today we have Lina, who's an email copywriter, and she's absolutely incredible and blowing up on Twitter at the moment. So check it out, you're going to love it. And this podcast is all about agency owners and freelancers. Anyone that's trying to scale their business online, this is for you. Check it out. We're going to be asking some really cool questions and you're going to love it. Too. But yeah, so I guess, so the whole point of this is to understand a little bit about you. Just a little bit about what I've seen from you so far has been really cool. So I was really surprised when you said you've only been doing X for like a number of weeks. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, so I've been on X for actually, like in terms of using the app, I was using it for a while. But I posted sporadically, never really any intention, roll out of it. If I felt like posting out, posting. And I've just been a very private and very shy person, but everyone's telling me, you should build your personal brand. So I thought I'll give a go at it. And so I just decided to be more intentional and more consistent with how I post it. So I'll plan content ahead and I'll post it 4 times a day, interact it with accounts that I use content I genuinely like. So it doesn't feel like a chore. And then kind of from doing that, I just like, the account exploded. I did not expect it at all. Some people were asking for advice, growth advice. I just tell them I don't have any. Like I'm just doing what works. And yeah, within 4 weeks, I grew to like about 1,000 plus followers. Launched my newsletter, and yeah, things kind of took off.
Nice. And it's noticeable as well when someone's being original because Twitter's such an echo chamber, right? So it's like someone says this, and then for the next week, you're going to hear everyone saying the same thing in lots of different ways. So it's nice. And I think a lot about this as well. I think about how life is so much easier when you just do what you enjoy, and then things tend to work
Yeah,
out, you know?
100%. I think that translates as well to like, I see a lot of people, they talk about growth on X. Obviously, no shade to anyone, but I just kind of, one thing I notice is people telling you to comment on 100 posts a day and do this and do that. But I feel like if you feel forced to do something or like you engage with content or engage with people just for the sake of it, you're not going to enjoy it and it's not going to be sustainable. And at the end of the day, a social platform is to network, is to get to know people. And one of the things that what I did and what I tell people to do as well is just because I feel like people make things so transactional and it doesn't have to be that way. You can connect with someone without expecting anything in return and just genuinely wanting to connect with people. That's kind of the whole point, right? Of course, you want to make money, you want to monetize. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I think just being genuine and helping people out, the byproduct of that, people would see that you're able to help, and then they can see how genuine you are, and they want to work with you, and you end up attracting like the kind of people that you want to attract because of the energy and um, like how you carry yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really true. I think I was on a call might have been last week, and someone was asking, like, I'm offering 15-minute quick chat with people on my newsletter. So just free, And I always say, I'm not going to try and sell you anything at the end, like maybe unless you ask for it, and then there might be
Yeah.
something there. But it's strange because you get on calls with people, and everyone's like so used to this transactional thing of like, okay, you've given me value, now you're about to extract value from me, right? You want money in exchange. And when you don't do that, people are left wondering what's going on, what do I do
Yeah.
here? it, you know,
Yeah, I
yeah, but
noticed the
that's
same
really
thing
good.
as well. Because when I did something similar, just to kind of thank people for giving me their time and attention and energy when they joined, like when they followed me, I was like, I want to give something back, so I'm gonna do a free giveaway call, 15-minute free, whatever you need. The same, they say the same thing. They're like, oh, it's kind of weird. Like, are you gonna pitch me? I'm like, no, that's it. There's nothing else to do except just like help you out. But you're completely right on that. I think people are so used to being like kind of pitched to or like sold to when they get on a call that they think is just gonna be like chatting with someone, and then when they're not, they're like, oh, that's kind of weird. But I think that kind of just goes to show that like there's so much like the stuff that we're doing, which is being genuine and just wanting to help people. I think that's what more people should do, I feel.
Yeah. And it's absolutely fine to help people and then at some point try to monetize it. It's like there's this
Yeah.
shame around it sometimes. It's not all or nothing. You can, everyone is trying to either build a business or do whatever. And also, if you build all this knowledge and value and you can help people as well, why not do it? Everybody wins. Like, I always think if I were to teach myself a year ago or 2 years ago with what I know now, I would be like my agency would be 2-3 times the size that it is at the moment, for example. So, and I'm sure you've paid for courses. I've paid, I'm paying for
Yeah.
$500 a month for a mastermind at the moment. And I've paid so many times for things. Like, what's your like thought process on all this?
So one of the things that I I struggled with in the beginning, because I come from a client from a site where I do a lot of client work, and obviously when you work with big brands, like that they have the budget to to work with you. And so I actually had a talk with my mentor, Virgil Brewster. I don't know if you know him, but absolute legend in the
Yeah.
info product space. And one of the things I told him was, I feel bad for when I launched my workshop. I felt bad taking people's money. Like it sounds weird, but I would just I had a lot of things that went through my mind, like stuff like are they gonna be okay? Like, are they gonna be fine and stuff like that? Stuff that I probably shouldn't think about, but it bothers me. And so one of the things that I did when I launched my workshop is I did tell some people, like, hey, if this is like your last uh, $500, then like I don't want you to spend it on me, because that's I don't want you to put yourself in that situation. That's one of the things I tell people as well. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're desperate in any kind of um matter, right? Um and so yeah, for me personally, I believe in spending it on mentors. Like, I still do. I have a lot of mentorships that I join, masterminds that I join. I'm a big believer in that, because I think uh, no matter where you're at in your entrepreneurial journey, there's something that someone would know more of, that you can kind of skip certain parts and like kind of skip making certain mistakes and learn from that person. But me, myself, I feel weird when people want to pay for my mentorship. So it's a weird um, predicament, but uh, yeah, I suppose when you switch from being some like a how do I say, like more like entrepreneurs are kind of switching to being a creator, that's kind of something you have to get used to, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And then there's also like there's the thing that they say, which is like if you try to be, as long as you're a few steps ahead of the person that's trying to learn from you, that's fine. Because honestly, there's so many steps. Like I don't
Yeah.
teach anyone how to do anything above 30K per month because I'm not there. So I wouldn't
Mm.
do that. Right. And so um, you know, everyone knows Hormozy, for example, he teaches everyone how to, he's always talking about if you want to hit $1 million a year, you do this. But it's like, well, a lot of people are happy hitting 10K a month, 5K a month,
Yeah.
15K a month, and the advice is different and it makes sense. Like, why not teach some people what you've learned? You feel good about yourself. You actually learn so much. Like when you're building, tell me a little bit about like what it was like building the workshop, and actually talk a little bit about where you're at with it at the moment. Have you started running it yet, or how's that looking?
Yeah, so since everything that I'm doing now has so much correlation to like when I started on X, right? So when I started on X, I had no intention of I didn't think about monetizing yet. I took it step by step. It was just more building a personal brand. And this is one of the things where, because I'm sure it's the same for you, because we have kind of a similar background, right? Doing like email marketing for e-com brands. So we kind of already have that experience in real life, or like doing things outside of X. So when we come on X, we're not in a rush to monetize, because we already have our client work. We're there for fun, or we just want to build our personal brand. So same thing. There was no intention of monetizing it straight away, but as I kept posting, talking about what I do, I got a lot of like very similar questions from people who want to be email copywriters or email marketers. And there was a trend. I saw like a lot of same questions over and over again. And so what I did was I was like, you know what? I'm getting this same questions. I'm going to do a giveaway around it. And then again, got a lot of questions about this, doing a giveaway around it. Did the call, spoke to like maybe 100 to 100 people, noticed another trend. That's what inspired me to do the workshop. So everything that I'm doing is kind of centered around like what my audience wants. And that's the beauty of just taking your time, getting to know people and their pain points. So my workshop was inspired by all the questions that a lot of new beginners have. We essentially cover the foundations of email copywriting and email marketing. And it started off as a workshop, and I kept it to 5 people. But after talking to everyone and having people in different time zones and at different parts of their journey, I was like, okay, let's just change this. I'm going to do a mentorship instead. So instead of workshop, I'm doing like a full 5 week one-on-one with that person, tailoring the content to them. And it's been so fun. I started the first one-on-one yesterday and today. And it's just, yeah, it's been very, very fulfilling seeing people um, get better clarity on what email marketing is, how you do email copywriting. And it's just fun.
That's so cool. And so just so I understand the format of what you're doing, because I'm actually starting something very similar, so it's quite funny we're on a call. But um, what's the format like? Do you have group calls and then one-to-one calls, or just one-to-one?
No. So like literally all with the 5 people, they're all one-to-one calls.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's
That's good.
2 hour one-on-one calls with Q&As, action points for them to even do exercises on, and then it'll just be kind of tailored to where they're at in their journey. So if someone's more advanced, then we'll kind of dive a little bit deeper into email marketing. Like we'll talk about segmentation, A/B tests, and stuff like that. So yeah.
Cool. That's really good because I'm just building my landing page at the moment, but I already have 7 or 8 people that I've been talking to. Actually, the giveaways the lead magnets have helped a lot because people just start
Mhm.
messaging you. And I'm sure you know this. Like when you post, people message you, ask you questions, and then that leads to a conversation that ends up
Yeah.
maybe somewhere, you know. So I'm starting like a 5-6 week thing as well, and that's
Nice.
with a mix, but I'm using it to build the community. So I said to them, look, it's insanely cheap on purpose. The people that are coming after you are going to pay at least 10 times what you're paying. But I'm doing this so I can build a course, initially a course for everyone inside, and then a kind of build the whole community, start having questions, the FAQs, all that kind of stuff. But I thought I could do this myself for the next 6 weeks, or I could charge an incredibly low amount and get the exact questions and actually we're doing weekly calls instead for everyone. And then seeing how that goes. Probably do maybe one-on-one calls if a few people ask for it. But I thought that would work well. I'm not the biggest fan of getting on calls, to be honest. We've banned almost every call at my agency, and there's like 8 people working there. Because I like working kind of everyone on their own time. So I tried to reduce the amount of calls. That's my own kind of pickiness there, I think. But that's cool. So I really like what you've done. And obviously, you've shown that you're doing a lot of really cool stuff, especially on Twitter. I've got you here on my other screen. And so where do you want things to go from now on? Because I know this is obviously a learning experience for you, right? Everything we do is kind of, you learn from it. Where do you see things
Yeah.
going?
I'm just taking it a day at a time, to be honest. But I have this rule where I don't want to overthink. I just want to execute, learn, and reiterate. I think a lot of times we kind of wait for things to be perfect and it never works out. So everything that I've done recently, I've just been doing it, have enough information to execute, and then learn and reiterate. So kind of sorry, if you hear fireworks in the background, it's a holiday tomorrow. So,
No worries, all good. We'll edit it
um,
out.
yeah. Um, I think where I kind of see myself at the moment is one of the things that I want to do is I want to keep doing client work because I feel like, and I'm sure you feel this way as well, Daniel, like you need to have skin in the game. You can't be teaching people about email marketing if you don't have skin in the game, right? So that's something I definitely want to keep doing. I'll have a handful of retainer clients that I work with and I enjoy. I'll keep them and I want to work with them. And then And on the other side, on the creator side of things, I just want to see where I can take things and how much value I can provide. Maybe continue doing a mentorship and doing like a course as well, like maybe something like just have it like a low ticket offer, mid ticket offer, and high ticket offer. I actually started the other way around. I started off with my high ticket offer right off the bat, which is a mentorship. So now I kind of want to reverse engineer it. But definitely it's still going to be everything related to email marketing, email copywriting. That's what I really like. And definitely kind of like building more digital products and focusing on my mentorship.
Yeah, so that's really cool because I think it's a really nice path to go down, especially as you grow on Twitter or X, and then as you build. I guess is the newsletter going to be a big part of that?
Yeah, so I do write almost daily to my newsletter. I think there are probably days that I don't, but I try to every single day just because I really enjoy it. Like I basically type like how I speak, so um, it's really just fun. And I use a lot of GIFs and I use the same lingos that I would use when I speak. So definitely a newsletter is part of that. It's something that I think is a byproduct anyway of when you try to grow your audience on X and when you do like really, really good lead magnets and giveaways and stuff like that. So I think, yeah, that's also another aspect that I want to really focus on is with my newsletter and kind of building that community of people that I really like engaging with. And then maybe later on, maybe do something like what you want to do, which is like start a little like community on the side. I find that very interesting. I just want to touch on that real quick. I think ever since Mosey like announced school, like everyone has gotten on like school, but I think it's so cool. Like the whole concept of it, it's so much like it's so user friendly, and I like the gamification of things. Um, so yeah, I think that's really really cool that you're gonna you know do something similar, like do a community. I'm assuming it's on school. It might not be, but yeah,
Yeah, it is cool. And actually, I was going to do Discord or Slack maybe, but I just saw that school integrates so well with everything, and if
yeah,
Hormozy is behind it, and it's Sam Ovens as well, they're going to build it to become great. So I think it'll be good. I prefer like a desktop app software, but maybe it's me being old school about it. But I think school itself will be really cool. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Because I used to
So tell
join
me a little.
community. Sorry,
Go for it.
go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah.
I
No,
was
no. Go
gonna say
ahead.
because
Sorry.
I joined a lot of communities on Discord. But ever since I joined some communities on school, I much prefer that. Like it's so much easier. They have an app on my phone as well that I can just listen. Like I can watch courses while if I'm in the car or something, while I'm going somewhere, or just if I'm outside, chilling, I can just watch the courses, and I like that. How easy it is to use. I'm not saying Discord is not user friendly, but I just feel like I like the interface of like school.
Yeah, simplicity, isn't it? You hearing a lot of people talk about that. How and I'm a really big fan of that as well, which is like keep things as simple as possible because you're just going to complicate everything. Like you see
Yeah,
people posting like, and this is a bit of a different thread, but you hear so many people talk about different like systems. Like here's my amazing system, do this and that. But the reality is like it should be really simple to make things work. I don't think it should be complicated because you're just making
yeah.
life difficult by doing that, right?
I don't know if that's like kind of like the marketer side of like us where or people where they feel like, like the more complex the funnel is, the more wow the client's gonna be and this and that. Like, but actually, like simplicity is what works. When you try to do too many things or there's too many moving parts, that's when it gets complicated. I think the beauty it's harder to do something to break something down to be simple um, than it is to just make things like more complicated. I feel it's always easy to make things complicated, but it's more challenging to simplify things.
Yeah, it definitely is. And also like the whole concept of making money. People want to make it more complicated than it is, right? It's not that it's not that difficult in theory. It's do something for enough time, and then it like let's say you're doing giveaways, or like a meet lead magnet. It's a great example, and you're like, okay, I got 10K impressions. I got 50 newsletter subscribers or 100, whatever. If I do this, and I'm just spamming the idea, but if I do this for 3 months, I'm going to add 300, 400 subscribers to my newsletter. Then I can push my low ticket, my mid ticket, my high ticket, all that stuff, and that will generate money, right? The problem is that you see people on X. I have a tweet that gets reposted every now and then, which is like, we'll see who's here in 6 months, because most people won't be here in 6 months, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of how it goes. Most people just stop doing whatever they're doing, and we all like switch things every now and then. I failed for like 7. I was just writing this. I was at the airport a few days ago, writing newsletters saying I failed for about 7 years at so many different businesses because I kept jumping from thing to thing. And the second I stopped doing that, I started to make actual money. What do you think about this?
I think there's two ways to it. I think it's okay, and I think it's very normal for people to skip things until they find what they like, right? But the issue is once they find what they like, they think it's easy, and then they do it for like 30 days and then they give up. That's kind of where the issue is. So in the beginning, I think it's completely fine to try different things to find what you like. But I think the most important thing is once you find what you like, to double down on it and to like not give up after 30 days. I see so many people, they do something for 30 days and they expect to be a millionaire, right? Or like, and I'm sure you know this, like people when it comes to email marketing, like they're like, oh, I want to get into email marketing because it's a fast way to make money. Like, don't get me wrong, you can make really good money, right? Depending on like the clients you work with and the size of your retainer and this and that, all those nitty gritty. But to get to that, you still need to put in the work, and it's not going to be within 30 days. I mean, if you're lucky, right? If you're really lucky and you get a 5K retainer in 30 days, then good on you. But like, I think people stop like once they see that it's hard, or once they feel like um they don't see any form of success yet. But that usually happens, I feel like, after 90, like 60, 90 days. You got to keep showing up and doing the same thing over and over again to see results. And I'm sure you did the same. I think a lot of people do the same. And I think the issue is, sorry to go off a tangent, but or like to go deep into
Go.
this, but it's just that I have, and I'm sure you as well, so many people asking me like, how do I land my client, like my first client? And then you ask them, okay, what have you done? What have you done? Yeah, I've sent out like 10 outreach emails, like 10 outreach messages. Like, that's it. You know what I mean? Um, so I think people expect to get success really fast, and I think that's where they kind of mismanage their expectations.
Yeah, that's so true. But also, like, this is why it helps to do mentoring, like your workshop, for example, because people don't know what it takes. They think like they just don't know, right? It's that ignorance of starting a business. Um, that's what I was saying to a friend yesterday, and it was like, you just don't know what you don't know, right? You don't know how many emails it takes to get someone to reply back to you, to then get on a
Yeah.
call with them, to then get a client. And people don't have that information, which is like, if you speak to someone that doesn't understand anything about business. Like, I had that tweet I posted this morning, which was like, someone yesterday messaged me from my team and said, don't tell this to this person because they might steal the idea. And I was like, well, everyone's got ideas, right? You can
Hmm.
be talking to a friend and they'll say, oh yeah, I had that idea. And it's like, well, did you do anything about it? No. Well, and there's so many people that fall along the way of trying to make the idea reality that it almost doesn't matter. Like, it's the person that's stuck with the idea for the longest,
Mm,
and actually made something happen. Because most of the time, no one's going to carry things through. They're not going to do it. They're going to talk about it. They're going to try it. They're going to dabble, and then they're going to drop off. Um, and so with learning, I think with learning these things, it's like like you said, do something and just do it consistently for a while. But you have to, take feedback, understand what you actually have to be doing, because many people are doing the wrong action over and over again, and then they just don't move.
Very
They're
true.
just in the same place, right?
That's very true,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, and it's just like an example of that. If someone's just starting out, they're not sure where to put their energy in, and then they put a lot of their energy into like building a personal brand or getting a website. But that's not where you should be spending your energy, and all your energy should be put into doing outreach to get your first client, you know? And a lot of people rely on, and again, no shade towards building a personal brand. I think it's important, but I think people need to understand that building a personal brand becomes easier when you already have client work and when you have a base and a foundation that you're getting paid. Like for example, like you're not relying on a personal brand to get clients to make money. You already have clients, you're making money, and then you're building a personal brand. And the byproduct of that is getting inbound leads. So that's a very big difference versus someone who's going on X for the sole purpose of building a personal brand but don't have a client yet. So it's all about kind of putting your energy in the beginning. Where should you spend most of your energy on? Like it shouldn't be building a personal brand. Hot take maybe. It shouldn't be, doing a website. It should just be literally sending like emails or DMs, whatever it takes to get your first client and then over delivering. And it kind of ties back to what you said, actually, Daniel. I feel like people think once you get your client, it's smooth sailing from there, but you kind of just get to another level where you unlock a whole different set of challenges.
Yeah, that's so true. That's absolutely true. Like honestly, going back to keeping things simple, my experience is exactly the same. It's like do outreach. Even let's say if someone's new starting out today, like I think 90% of their time should really be on outreach. And
Yeah,
then when they
a
have their
hundred
first
percent.
3 to 5 clients, yeah, right. Because like even if you might like let's say you want to do email, and we'll go in. I want to get your opinion on that. But let's say you want to do email marketing, for example. You could even know very little about email marketing, like the basics, maybe a bit. You need to know enough to close a client, and you need to know more than your client for sure. But even
Mhm.
if you don't know that much, if you're spending all your time doing courses on service delivery, all that kind of stuff, it's pointless because you're doing it for no one because you don't have a
Yeah.
client to do that to. So tell me a little bit about like what kind of things do you go over in your workshop in terms of how you help people with getting past these problems.
Yeah. So every week we uncover like, or we go through like one topic in detail. And then if there's any questions that come up, we'll address them. So it's kind of like we have a structure, but it's also kind of we do go with the flow when it comes to the call in case they have any other questions. And um, how I
Sorry,
address
Lina,
that
you
is I
broke
kind
up
of
there a few times. Could you say
oh
that again just because you broke up there a few times?
okay yep. So how I approach it is like we'll first go over like the basics, right? What email copywriting is, what an email looks like, and it's super super basic, but I think that's the most important thing, the foundation, like the anatomy of an email, because how you do copywriting for a landing page or any other like a VSL and stuff like that is very different to email copywriting, right? You have the structure and stuff like that. And so we go through that and then I show them all the different emails and then I explain to them like the different types of services you can offer your client basically so they understand. Because a lot of the questions I did get was, oh, do we need to do the segmentation? Do we need to do the strategy? And so I explain to them, or we go over like service delivery. And I was saying that it kind of all depends on what kind of structure you have with your client or what kind of retainer that you agreed on. Like some copywriters, for me personally, I have some clients where I work on strategy and copy, and then I have some that just copy and that's it. So that's also something that we cover as well because I think that's the main question that I get as well for aspiring copywriters. They're like, "Oh, but I don't know how to do design," and I'm like, "But you're not going to do design. There's already a designer that usually the client has, and then you work with them." So also how to work with the designer if they need to. So all the different scenarios, because I've had different scenarios that I went through as well. where there's some client where I literally just put a copy in the doc and send it over. The designer knows what to do. And then, and I'm sure you know this as well, like another client where I kind of have to give direction to the designers for what to do. So kind of just explaining to them all the different scenarios that might come up and assuring them that like just because when you get your client and you're unsure if you have questions, that like that's completely fine. It's okay to like still be, have a learning curve. I think the issue, I just want to touch on this real quick, is I think people who are just starting out tend to charge a lot. And then when they do, they feel they doubt themselves because they're not sure if they can deliver. And then, because they charge like an expert price or something, or a price that's more than what they're comfortable with, they might under deliver and they're not sure. And then that kind of like burns the bridge with that client. So I feel like starting up as well, you always want to put a price where you're comfortable with, that if something happens or it's because it's still a learning curve, that the client's not going to be like, pissed off about.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. One of the things I thought about recently was, I may have made a video on this or not, but there is like a level of forgiveness that you get from clients depending on the price that you charge. So I remember in the beginning I was charging very little, like 350, 500, and you get a lot more forgiveness. When you have a client paying you 2K, 3K, they're a lot less likely to go, okay, that mistake was okay, like a typo, or like let's say you send an email to the wrong audience, or it goes at the wrong time and you schedule it, like just mistakes like that.
Yeah.
So I always think that if you in the beginning go lower, build your skills, build your confidence, know that you can give them like really good ROI, and then you start to charge more. Because also your sales skills, like I know you saw the 2 call sale video that I did.
Yeah, loved it,
Like
by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, cool. It's exactly what I do. But I remember from the beginning, it was like, I'm not sure I can do this. And that's okay. You might not be sure. So don't be following what Twitter says, which is like, oh, I just got 7K, 5K, 10K retainer, and you started 2 weeks ago. It doesn't make sense that you do that. You'll get away with it. If you're good enough at selling, you will get someone to do it, but they'll leave after a month or two because you've done a
Yeah.
terrible job.
And if you're like good at it, if you're good at sales, and let's say you outsource it to someone else to do it, then that's some like power to you. If that's something that you want to do and something you're good at. But I think, I think if you're just starting out and you charge like an absurd amount, you're just gonna end up like kind of um, uh, getting into a trap of like not over delivering, making mistakes, and then the client being annoyed, and then just kind of like burning your bridges. Because like I feel like your client, when you over deliver for them, they're more than happy to refer you to other people. And like I feel like referrals are always the best, like the best way to get clients, because you already have um like a relationship with the client. People already know you, and so it's a lot easier as well. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think it's just more of being able to sacrifice in the short term for like a long term gain, and that's something super important as well.
Yeah, definitely. Tell me a little bit about, so you've got obviously the workshop. So are you going to run it for like 5 weeks and then stop and then run another one at some point? Are you going to make it a regular thing? What's the plan?
So far, I have plans already to do another workshop, because I'm really enjoying it at the moment. I think it's going to be following like a mentorship kind of style, so just one on one. I just prefer that, talking to a person one on one, and I think you get to know a lot more about them. And so I already have something in the works. I'm working with my mentor on that, um, and it's not fully fleshed out yet. It's just just cooking up some ideas, but I want to get more feedback from the current students that I work with, what they like, what they don't like. And this is again something that you're learning, you're reiterating, and then you want to make things better. And I want to talk to like the audience and see, kind of like what they want to see more of. So it's kind of gathering data right now, which I will then use to fulfilled on the next workshop. Because again, I might think this is something people's gonna find cool or they're gonna like it, but I want to get it from them and know what they want to see more of.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love the way you're thinking about it, and I don't think enough people do that. Um, I remember when I used to do like my own e-com store, and I was paying so much money for a course, and the guy that taught us said, like you're testing products. It was drop shipping, which like so many people get involved with that, but it's a really good starting place, I think. But he was saying that the only people that can really decide whether your product is good or not is the people that are paying their credit card.
Mm.
And this is so true. Which is why I like what you're saying. You're saying, okay, what are people asking for? What do they want? Okay, now I'll restructure my program around that. So I think the best workshops tend to be started that way.
Yeah, and I just like hearing what people want because in my head, and I'm sure you feel this way as well, because for you, you kind of feel like, oh, okay, this would be good for them to learn or this or that. But then everyone is like at a different part of their journey, and people might have different questions or this and that. So it's just like it's a lot easier to talk to a lot of people, get data, and kind of see like the like trends or the patterns that is like the most recurring, and build course around that. And the other thing is when you kind of build a relationship with your audience, and this is kind of touching back to what we spoke about just genuinely connecting and wanting to give advice or help people out where you can, not at your own expense, of course, right? Like don't do like a full-fledged flow and like set up campaigns for free, but like just kind of giving people advice so you can help them. It goes a long way because all the people that signed up to my workshop were all the people that I actually jumped on a free giveaway call with, that I actually connected uh, with just like purely wanting to help them out. And then when I launched the workshop, yeah, these were all the people that joined. So it just goes to show like when you play the long game, and I say this all the time, I think it's very important. When you play the long game, it always works out. And as long as you have like genuine intention to help people, it always works out.
Yeah, that's so true. It's almost like the like doing the right thing does take you far. It's like sometimes people go into this, I think, with the wrong, like they're like, okay, I think we started the call like this, right? People are always like, how do I make money as quickly as possible? And it's like, well, I've been thinking a lot about this. And I had a call with one of my team members today, and I was saying, I have a few agency friends that only go up to 15 clients max, or even freelance, anyone. They only take X amount of clients, and they don't want clients they don't like working with. And I think that's one of the really good things about all of this is that, you know, don't try and make an insane amount of money too quickly because it's not scalable. I think anything that happens too fast can be destroyed equally fast. So if you go gradually about it, you're doing the right thing, you're taking feedback on, which I can see you've got a really nice kind of feedback loop process going on, and you adjust, and you're always like tweaking the direction of where everything is going. I think that's the path to success, if anything. Like I'm not trying to be, sounds very guru-y, but I think that's what has worked for me, at least so far. And doing the right thing is so important because you can tell when people are genuine and when they're not. You can try and fake that all you like, but you can see it. Most people, you can see that, you know.
Yeah, and just to touch on that as well, like I completely agree. I think like slow and steady, like it's so cliche, right? But slow and steady wins the race. Like, don't be in a rush to get to somewhere because, like, I get that. This is why I always drive the point home of like, it's so important not to put yourself in a situation where you're desperate, right? Because when you operate out of desperation, number one, you take anything you can get. Number two, you're in a hurry to make a quick money, but then you're not going to think about what are the long term repercussions, right? You need to just take it a day at a time. That's why I'm a big believer on kind of like not just quitting your 9 to 5 and going all in your freelance business or whatever you want to do on the side, because I think having a full time job is what will not put you in that place of desperation when you're trying to find clients when you're just starting out and stuff like that. So yeah, and you're just not. I think yeah, just taking things one step at a time and not rushing to make a lot of money, like you said, is what's actually gonna help you be more successful long term. Because you have to think about being in this industry for like a long time and not just for a couple of years.
Yeah, because people will get to know you as someone that does things that you probably shouldn't do, and it just burns your reputation to the ground. Like sometimes
Yeah,
you hear about people, I don't know, stealing things or whatever. It's just unnecessary stuff you don't need to do. You could have asked
yeah,
for it. You probably would have gotten it for free. So
yeah.
unnecessary.
That's another
Um,
important thing, by the way. So literally just ask. There's no harm in asking. Like I'm a big advocate on just ask. Like ask, and the worst thing that can happen is people say no, but at least you ask.
yeah, exactly. And a lot of people will say genuinely, they will say yes, and it's like, I'm sure you have this people in your DMs asking for help, and you give help with that without the expectation of anything in exchange, right? And no harm in doing that.
Yeah, I always say I'm happy to help where I can. If I see someone, like I look at their landing page or their newsletter that I subscribe to, and I feel like something could be improved, I just give them my advice and just say, hey, like this is what I've done. It's worked for me. You might want to try it out, see for yourself, and like yeah, just go about it. If you have any questions, let me know. But then, like on the other hand, you get some people who are who just like relentlessly ask you, like you help them out with one thing, and they turn into like a full-fledged like now it's like I'm essentially working for you for free. So it's like a double-edged
Yeah.
sword to kind of be
Mm.
able to uh give it help people without kind of like at your own expense.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I completely understand that. You're like every day you wake up to a few messages from that person. It's like, uh, I think you like some of these people. I think message me more than my girlfriend. So,
Mhm.
it's not good.
That's okay. Um, I have something I just want to share. This doesn't have to go on. This is something funny, right? But I remember I
Yeah, yeah,
had
sure.
a guy that DM'd me, and he was like, "I have a few questions." I was like, "Yeah, sure, shoot. Like, let me know how I can help." And he goes, "First, I want you to review my copy," and it's like a 5-pager copy. And then secondly, I want you to tell me every single thing that you did that got you to here today, and what are the mistakes. Like literally, I'm not even joking, 20 questions.
Insane. What
And
did you
he
say
goes,
to
if you answer
that?
all
Did you
this,
block
I will
him?
give you a video review right now. And I was like, I don't even need your video review, but thanks so much. I didn't say that, but this is the thing about me, and it's where like kind of like my other mentors as well tell me that like don't let people take advantage of you. So I'm still trying to find that fine line, right? And I answered all 20 of his questions. And
No.
then he just
Oh my
stopped
God.
replying. He stopped replying me. I guess he got what he needed and he stopped replying me. But uh,
Wow.
lesson learned. Uh, I will try to be more mindful of that and like kind of really look into where I'm gonna put my energy next time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you were too nice there, I think. But I guess that will come back to you in some way, maybe. Uh, Maybe you'll
yeah, I
tell
mean, if it
someone.
doesn't, then hopefully it works out for him. Hopefully he is a on his way to becoming a successful copywriter now.
Yeah, yeah, he's a millionaire by now with the advice you gave him. Yeah.
Mm.
Cool. So I guess just a final thing is, what's some advice you'd give to anyone wanting to start out with email copywriting, or just yeah, and then obviously, how would your workshop help them?
I think the advice that I would have for people who are just starting out, and I'm just thinking about what advice I would have liked when I was starting out, is again, like super simple, straightforward. Focus on things that move the needle. Focus on big movers. Like if you're just starting out, then focus on getting your first client and then over delivering. Those are the two things that you should just be focused on. And these are the things that I cover in the workshop as well, because we focus on getting to know the basics of what makes a good email, the different types of emails, and putting together their portfolio and picking their niche and trying to figure out how to reach out to clients, what to say, how to deliver. So all these are part and parcel of the workshop, and stuff that I wish that I had a clearer path on when I first started. Because once you get the client, right, then it's like, oh, what do I reply? Then it's, what do I charge? Then it's, how do I deliver? And then how do I ask for a testimonial? So it's one thing after another. Um, and that's kind of what I want to teach and give people clarity on. Because I think when you operate from clarity, you operate with more confidence, right? And it gives you, it makes things easier. You're not as scared, or you're not feeling as overwhelmed, because you know what to do each step of the way. And yeah, and I try to help them. I even tell them, like, even after the workshop, if like a client asks you this or that, if you need help with, just message me. Like, I'm not gonna disappear after 5 weeks, So I want to be able to just help people, because I wish that I had that when I first started, and I wish I had someone to kind of tell me, like, what are the steps and what happens after this and what do I do now, kind of thing. So yeah.
That's amazing. And it's like, just it's the clarity that you're saying is really important. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and it sounds great, because I think more than courses, more than anything else, mentorship is probably the most valuable thing. Like, you can buy a course today and you'll see it and you'll extract value from it, but it's not the same as someone giving you an exact answer to your question. Like about pricing, for example, I found out a few weeks ago from the inner circle I'm in, I found out that I wasn't doing pricing in a very good way. And so then I restructured it. And I was too afraid to say it before, because I was like, no one's doing this. And now I've been doing it and it has worked. And the mentorship has paid for itself for the next like 7 or 8 months, because I've got 2 new clients on the new pricing. So that's worked really well for me. So I think for the people in your workshop, it sounds amazing, because you're just skipping a ton of steps for them by being there, right?
Yep.
So I think
And
there's insane value.
I make it very clear as well. Like, I always tell them, I'm like, look, like, uh, if you join this workshop, you're not gonna make like a gajillion dollars in like the next 5 weeks. But what I can promise you is that you'll have the foundations that you need to really go into like making a lucrative career for yourself, and really just honing a skill that is able to pay you as long as you stick to it. Because mindset is a huge part of it as well. Um, so yeah, so it's just making sure that people know, like, kind of setting people straight and saying, like, look, this workshop will give you the basics and the foundation to get to a point where you can charge 5K a month, or anywhere between 2 to 5K a month, depending on your scope of work, right?
Yeah.
And you're not going to get it in like 30 days, 60 days. You might get it in 60 days, you might get it in 30 days, you might get it in 90 days, who knows? But the point is, this is the foundation that you need to get to where you want to be. And so I don't promise people, that you're able to make 5K as soon as you finish this workshop, but I um, do tell them that this is a skill that will pay you dividends for years to come, because every business needs it.
Yeah. So a lot of this stuff does change people's lives. Like, it definitely changed like my life, and it sounds like it has done it for you, right?
Yeah, and having a mentor at the different stages of your entrepreneurial journey is so important. Like we were just talking about how at the moment right now I want to kind of go into the more creator side of things. So my mentors that I have are more catered to that, helping me out, helping me build like the products, ideas for that, and stuff like that.
Cool. And I guess I said that was the final question, but there's a second final question. Who would you say this workshop/mentorship is not for?
I think it's not for, maybe hot take, but it's not for people who want to make a quick buck, who is just looking at it to get into it, to just like with the aim of making as much money as possible in as a short amount of time as possible. And yeah, people who just want to get things quick. It's for people who want to build a solid foundation for the long term.
Amazing. Cool. Awesome. I will just as a final thing, thank you for showing up today. We'll see how everything turns out in the end, but you clearly have done a lot of great things. I'm so impressed, like how quickly you've grown on Twitter, for example. I think a lot of people are resonating with your content. I can see you have a lot of engagement because, like, sometimes people buy followers and do other things, but I can tell you have like genuinely good engagement and people actually want to see what you're doing. So I guess, do you want to mention I'll add links to your different platforms, but if you just mention where you can be found by everyone.
Yeah, on Twitter you can find me at Lina Fahizul. That's LinaFahizul. That's where I spend most of my time on, and that's where I engage with people the most. So if anyone wants to kind of just see what I'm doing or ask for anything related to email marketing or copywriting, especially for beginners, yeah, feel free to send me a message. I do my best to reply to everyone.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'll stop. I'll just kill the recording here, basically. But yeah, so this was really